Ugly motherfucker.
Welcome back to Marvelous Videos. I'm Rylan, and today we will be exploring the Predator franchise, Explained. The expanded universe, especially the comics, tells us that the Predators are actually called the Yautja, or the Hish-Qu-Ten. These humanoid but hulking monsters are a race of otherworldly beings that are far superior in terms of technology to humans, and they function based on an innate desire to hunt for sport. In their quest, they visit several worlds and search for the strongest and most dangerous of warriors to hunt and hone their skills. However, their archenemy and prime victims remain the Xenomorphs, who are not just difficult to kill, but can be the source of the Predator's death as well. In fact, the Predators kill Xenomorphs to get the status of an adult Yautja, or Predator. We have made several videos that describe the history, biology, society, and even culture of the Yautja society. You may want to check out those videos for more marvelously exciting information. However, in this video, we will dive deep into all 6 films that the Predators appear in, and try to build a continued plot of this rather fragmented franchise. Before we go into today's analysis, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small step for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thanks. Now, on with the video. Predator, 1987. Major Alan Schaefer, or Dutch, was an ex-Special Force member, along with his men who were hired by the United States Army to go on a rescue mission intended to bring back a cabinet minister who was abducted by Guatemalan guerrilla forces. He came to the coast of Contamana only to meet with his old friend Dylan, who now works for the CIA and was supposed to accompany Dutch on the mission. However, Dutch was apprehensive of having a spy on his team. They crossed the border on a chopper and roped down into the thick and dense jungles of Guatemala. They soon discovered the crashed chopper that was carrying the minister and his men. Soon, they follow a trail, and along their way, come across the skinned corpses of 3 men. Can you imagine what it would be like to find skinned men hanging from treetops? Well, even for the bravest of us, this must be a horrific sight to behold. After investigation, the team finds out that the men were, in fact, being led by another one of Dutch's old friends.
I knew these men. Green Berets out of Fort Bragg.
Dutch and his men soon locate a heavily armored and defended rebel camp, where the hostages may have been kept. After a short but fierce battle with lots of guns blazing and explosions, they manage to infiltrate and successfully take out the rebels.
Knock, knock.
In the process, they also capture a rebel named Anna and bring her along. To their utter disappointment, they find out that the hostages not only had been executed already, but they were none other than CIA operatives. The revelation enraged Dutch, which made Dylan confess that the whole rescue mission had been a setup since the start. The objective was neutralizing the rebels, but after the previous unit to carry out the mission got eliminated, Dylan tricked his friend and uber-cool Commando Dutch into accepting the same mission. What a jerk you are, Dylan.
You used to be somebody I could trust.
After destroying the camo, they head back to the extraction point, but an unknown and unseen creature is soon stalking them. 2 members of the team are then brutally killed, and the rest realize that they are not alone in these dense jungles. While Dylan feels that this is the work of other guerrillas, a team member named Billy feels that the work is not the task of any average human, or any human for that matter. However, Billy's opinion is discarded by all. The men who were killed, Hawkins and Blaine, might have been alive had Anna not tried to escape. Hawkins was sent after Anna, and only his bloody innards are now left behind. When Blaine went to go look for Hawkins, he too was killed in the most gruesome way possible. Interestingly enough, the creature had spared Anna. After finding out that Blaine was killed so brutally, Mac opened random fire into the trees. It didn't do much damage, but it did injure the strange creature, just enough to bleed its green luminescent blood on a large leaf. The audience gets to see the Predator perform a small surgery on the injured leg. It is at this moment that the group of commandos realize that something in the woods wants them dead. It was soon dark, and the team decided to camp for the night and set traps around them in case something strikes them in the dead of night. However, a boar triggers the traps and tripwire mines that Mac placed. But in the ensuing chaos, the Predator attempts to steal Blaine's corpse. Dutch deduced that the creature was traveling through the trees, hence making their ground traps ineffective. Dutch frees Anna from her clutches and inquires her about the killer who was still at large. She explained that it had been coming to the jungles for quite a few years now, and that it came especially during hot summers. Later, Mac and Dylan both get killed. As more bodies start to pile up, Dutch realizes that the Predator hunts as per a code of honor and didn't attack unarmed people. Naturally, he sent Anna alone to the extraction point, while he himself slipped down a cliff and into a river, and later got covered in mud when he came out of it. The mud made him invisible to the Predator and served as camouflage. Dutch lay there in utter shock and horror as the Predators collected trophies of skulls and spines from the dead people. However, he soon gathered his courage and used his environment to set ancient traps. Later, the two of them meet once again, but an invisible Dutch damages the Predator's cloaking device with an explosive arrow. However, he soon loses his camouflage of mud and becomes visible to the Predator once again. Interestingly enough, the Predator removes his weapons and engages Dutch in hand-to-hand combat. But even the mighty big Arnold Schwarzenegger was tossed away like a rag doll by the Predator. However, Dutch managed to crush the Predator under his trap.
Come on!
But in the last desperate attempt to kill Dutch, the Predator activated his self-destruct device and laughs maniacally in Billy's voice. But Dutch, realizing what the alien had done, runs for his life, only to be rescued by Phillips later. The film was neither Arnold Schwarzenegger nor John McTiernan's best artistic work, but it still stands out as the best film of the franchise, for the sheer terror that it builds. No other Predator film could build such tension or a sense of dread. What starts off as just another Arnie action flick later takes the turn into one of the best sci-fi classics ever. Predator 2, 1990. Years later, in 1997, the city of Los Angeles was suffering from the twin problems of a sweltering heat wave and heated street war between the Jamaican and Colombian drug gangs. Meanwhile, a Predator was watching over as Lieutenant Michael R. Harrigan enters the scene of the crime to rescue two wounded officers. Detectives Leona Cantrell and Danny Archuleta had been waiting for Harrigan's assistance, but as was expected, Harrigan did a great job by forcing the Colombian gangsters to withdraw into a nearby building. But the building soon gets rocked by several explosions.
Sergeant, are you people in the building?
Harrigan and his team went inside the building, but to their utter shock and horror, they find that the Colombians had been mysteriously slaughtered. Harrigan follows the only survivor of the massacre to the roof, but was forced to shoot him in self-defense and couldn't get time to question him. Harrigan then notices the silhouette of a large, transparent humanoid figure, but he dismisses the vision as an optical illusion caused by the heat, as well as his acrophobia, or fear of heights. When Harrigan returns to the precinct, his superiors grill him for disobeying direct orders, and he was later introduced to Special Agent Peter Keyes, played by Gary Busey. Busey's character was included in the film after Arnie declined a role in Predator 2. Peter Keyes was leading a federal task force that was in charge of investigating the cartels of Los Angeles. Keyes warns Harrigan to stay out of the former's way. Furthermore, Harrigan meets the Lone Ranger, or Bill Paxton's Jerry Lambert. Lambert's character was essentially that of a cocky officer and served as the comic relief. That night, the Jamaican gangsters break into the house of the Colombian drug lord Ramon Vega and assassinate him while he was having a little too much fun with a good lady. However, the Jamaicans get slain by the Predator, who had been following them. He slew everyone in the most brutal of fashions, but spared the unarmed girlfriend of Vega. Harrigan and his team were asked not to enter the building, but they arrived at the scene anyway. They found one of the Predator's weapons that was stuck in an AC vent. Keyes starts to appear more and more suspicious as time passes, and he asks Harrigan and his team to stay out of the way and the investigation, lest they want to find themselves dead. However, Harrigan and Danny decide to investigate on their own the weapon that they had found and arrange for a meeting later at the apartment. However, the Predator kills Danny upon his arrival, but Danny had managed to retrieve the weapon. Harrigan gets devastated at this and vows to slay whoever killed Danny. He continues his investigation and meets the city's chief pathologist, who informs him that the weapon was comprised of an entirely alien element, something that didn't belong in the existence on Earth. He then met with the Jamaican drug lord, King Willie, who told him that the attacks were an act of an otherworldly being.
Can't see the eyes of the demon.
This further confuses Harrigan, who left the place just before the Predator attacked and beheaded King Willie himself. Meanwhile, Leona starts to suspect that the murderer was trying to toy around with Harrigan. She and Lambert headed out to uncover leads that pointed towards a Los Angeles slaughterhouse. However, in the subway, the Predator struck once again. The subway scene is considered by many as the greatest kill sequence in film history, and was a directorial marvel. 2 cops stuck inside a train with some goons, a group of ordinary passengers carrying guns and pistols, as well as a murderous alien. It also made Bill Paxton only one of 2 men to have been killed by the 3 great monsters of film: the Xenomorph, the Terminator, and the Predator. When all of his bullets get finished, he uses a good old ball to hit the Predator, and of course to no avail. The Predator overpowers Leona, but leaves her alive because she was pregnant. Harrigan arrives at the scene and then pursues the Predator, following the creature to the surface and throughout the town. But later, Harrigan got captured by Keyes' men. Keyes reveals what the Predator really stands for, and the fact that he and his team had been trying to capture the alien for such a long time now. In fact, ever since the first one attacked Dutch and his team. They had learned its modus operandi and were equipped with clothing that would insulate them and keep the thermal radiation of the body inside, hence taking away the Predator's ability to see them. Furthermore, they planned to study it, so they were equipped with liquid nitrogen to freeze the Predator. The operation started at the slaughterhouse, which turned into a slaughterhouse of Keyes and his men. However, Harrigan managed to flee from custody and confronts the Predator on his own. The battle reaches the rooftop, where Harrigan slices the Predator's arm with his disc blade. A one-armed stuntman named R. David Smith plays the Predator for this one. He was hanging from a 13-story high building with a special rig called the Descender. Smith had only one shot at getting down and falling into someone's bathroom. It is in this scene that we see the advanced med kit, or the Medicomp of the Yautja. It comes with a burner for melting a blue solvent, spatulas, needles, and an emergency mask, as well as a shrapnel extractor. He uses these to heal his arm wound, and the various bullet wounds as well. Although the tedious process heals him, it seems to be a reasonable, painful process because he constantly groans in pain. Finally, they reach a tunnel where he reached the Predator's mothership. Harrigan was clearly not a match for the hulking Predator in his ensuing battle, but he still managed to kill it. To his surprise, several other Predators approached Harrigan. He naturally presumed that his fate was now sealed, but they instead only took away their fallen warrior, and the elder Predator presented Harrigan with a revolver as a reward for his courage and bravery. Run! Predators, 2010. An ex-Special Operations Forces veteran who turned into a mercenary, Royce found himself parachuting into an unknown jungle. Upon reaching the surface, he found others who had arrived in the same manner. Among the others are Isabel, who was a sniper for the Israeli Defense Forces, Stans, who was a death row inmate from San Quentin State Prison, Nikolai was a Russian commando from the Spetsnaz Alpha Group, Hanzo was a Yakuza Inagawa Kai enforcer Mombasa, who was a Revolutionary United Front Death Squad soldier, Cuchillo, who was a cartel enforcer, Ronald Noland was a United States Army Air Cavalry soldier, and he was the only one to have some knowledge about the place because he had been there for quite some time. And lastly, Edwin was a general physician, whose presence was strange because he was nowhere as skilled as the other men, and the one woman who were trained and skilled killers. The group followed Royce, and they all came across a mysterious temple-like monument that had a plant loaded with neurotoxins that Edwin later collected in his scalpel. They also found empty cages and traps that had been set by a former or deceased Green Beret. Later, after looking at the sky, they realize that they are no more on Earth. The team of strangers soon get attacked by the Predator Tracker's hellhounds. The hellhounds are like ankylosaur-like pets of the Yautjas, but they also look like a blend of dogs and reptiles. Just like a hunting dog, the hellhounds track prey, but they don't kill them. Royce deduced that they were all on an alien planet that served as a game preserve. Soon, Cuchillo gets killed as well, and the predators use his body to lure the other humans, but they knew better. The party then followed the tracks to a place where they find a captive predator. Soon, the super predators, named Falconer, Tracker, and their leader, Berserker, attack the humans. It is now that Isabel realizes that these aliens were nothing but the predators, one of whom had wreaked havoc in the Guatemalan jungles in 1987. Interestingly enough, the film used the original Predator film as the reference point. Also, Arnold Schwarzenegger as well as Danny Glover were supposed to make cameos in this film, but their roles were edited out of the final script. The group now meets Ronald Noland, who had survived 10 seasons on hunting of the planet by hiding, scavenging, and hence surviving from the predators and also their victims. Noland explains to the team that the predators had been bringing the fiercest and most dangerous warriors of different worlds to the planet in order to hunt them down with the intention of honing their own hunting skills. He also reveals that the captive predator and the super predators had a blood feud.
It's some kind of blood feud, I guess, been going on.
Royce then devises a plan to free the captive predator in the hope that he would help him get back on Earth in the Predator mothership. However, Noland tries to kill everyone else by smoking and suffocating them. Years of captivity had turned him crazy, and he wanted to kill them so that he could take their weapons and take on the predators. However, Noland gets killed by Tracker, who also helps release the group. Nikolai saves one of Tracker's prey, but this agitates Tracker, and he shoots Nikolai with his plasma caster and teased Nikolai while he crawled. But Nikolai took out his claymore mines and ignited them. The explosion killed them both. The rest of them get spotted by Berserker, but Stans distracted it while the others fled. However, Stans himself gets killed. Hanzo stayed behind to fight the Falconer. While he wielded a katana, Falconer chooses his extendable wrist blade. Having an exciting and high-octane battle, Hanzo managed to fatally wound Falconer and kills him. However, the injuries that Hanzo sustained during the length of the fight became the cause of his death. Royce, Edwin, and Isabel were the only ones who survived, and they headed to the captive predator to execute Royce's plan. However, Isabel and Edwin get captured by the Berserker. Meanwhile, Royce freed the captive predator. The alien agrees to Royce's deal, and they hack the predator ship and set a course for Earth. But Berserker arrives, and the two of them get into a fierce battle. However, Berserker manages to overpower the super predator, and later self-destructed the ship. Meanwhile, Edwin reveals that he's a psychopathic killer and paralyzes Isabel, but Royce sunk his scalpel into him, paralyzing him. This time, Royce uses Edwin as bait and sets grenades around him. Isabel shot the predator with her rifle, while Royce decapitates Berserker. Now that the threat was over, they observed new parachutes coming down from the sky. The Predator. A Predator ship crash lands on Earth when U.S. Army Ranger sniper Quinn McKenna and a team led by him gets attacked by a Predator. It was the fugitive Predator spaceship, that was being attacked by a Predator mothership. He opened a wormhole that opened in Earth's orbit and flew through it to escape the attacks. It crash lands in the jungles of Mexico, but the fugitive Predator manages to escape the explosion by exiting in a pod. The men were on a hostage rescue mission when the mishap took place. The Predator then appeared on the trees, but was largely invisible due to his cloak. The fugitive then kills one of McKenna's team members, but McKenna unknowingly fired at the fugitive with his own wrist gauntlet and knocks him down. He then retrieves the wrist gauntlet and biohelmet and sent them by mail to his house. He did so to prove that extraterrestrial life did in fact exist. However, a government agent named Will Traeger gets McKenna captured and produces him for questioning. Traeger also captures the fallen Predator and takes him to a lab for observation and experimentation. Evolutionary biologist Casey Brackett was assigned to research the alien hunter. She reveals that the Predator contains human DNA, but doesn't know how, the answer to which she was supposed to find. The fugitive Predator then awoke from his slumber, only to kill all the armed personnel present in the lab, but spared Brackett because she was unarmed. McKenna is sent out with a group of captives that includes a former Marine named Nebraska. As the captive Predator escapes from the lab, they get the window of opportunity to take over the bus that they were traveling in.
You got him! Wait, you got him, brother.
They travel to McKenna's house in the hopes of finding the captive Predator's armor, but all they find was Rory, McKenna's autistic son, who left the house for trick-or-treating wearing the armor. They began to look for Rory and save him from 2 Predator hounds.
My kid!
At the same time, the fugitive Predator chased them into a school, where they returned the armor to the Predator. However, a much stronger and much larger Predator attacks the fugitive Predator. He was the ultimate Predator, or the assassin Predator, and was the archenemy of the fugitive Predator. He was the result of immense hybridization, and his DNA was created by splicing the DNA of various creatures from different planets, while the base DNA was that of a Yautja, which gave him enhanced abilities. He was sent to Earth to kill the fugitive Predator, and succeeded in his mission by smashing the fugitive's head with a single punch, before tearing away his head and spine from his body. The group uses this opportunity to flee into a barn, but Traeger finds them there and captures them. Traeger also took Rory to the Predator ship after he saw him drawing its picture. The group soon went after Traeger with the help of a lobotomized Predator hound. The ultimate Predator then explained through translation software his intents, and the fact that he would give them a head start before he starts to hunt them down. However, bodies begin to pile up when the Predator attempts dismantling the ship, so that the Yautja technology would not fall into the wrong hands. The ultimate Predator then attempts to fly away with Rory, because he thought of the child's autism as more of a unique ability than a disability, and by extension, the advancement in the human evolutionary process. But Nebraska sacrifices himself in order to stop the ship, and the survivors kill the ultimate Predator with his own weapons. In the end, they realized that the fugitive Predator had come to Earth to give humans a device called the Predator Killer. He did so to ensure that humans had an equal opportunity of fighting the hulking monsters. Alien vs. Predator 2004. The Razorback Point whaling station in the Antarctic had a Yautja pyramid buried some 2,000 feet below the surface. Charles Bishop Wayland, the head of the wealthy MNC Wayland Corporation, found the hidden temple beneath the ice and wanted to claim it for his organization. To check it out, he organized a team that included mercenaries, drillers, linguistic experts, archaeologists, and a guide named Lex. Meanwhile, a Predator ship approached the pyramid and shot a beam of energy aimed at the ancient and buried structure. It had created a tunnel that led straight to the pyramid. When Wayland and his team arrive, they get surprised to see the tunnel, which wasn't there a few days ago. We wonder if the drillers would still get paid. Wayland's team go through the tunnel and descend down to the pyramid that looked like a sacrificial chamber with several human skeletons and signs of a civilization. However, all the skeletons mysteriously had their rib cages ruptured. Meanwhile, 3 predators named Scar, Chopper, and Celtic arrive at the pyramid and begin their massacre. They had come to Earth to get the status of a blooded Yautja by killing a Xenomorph. However, the team unwittingly activates the structure, an act that raised a trapped Xenomorph queen from her stasis. She immediately started producing eggs, and the resultant facehuggers erupted from the eggs, only to attach themselves to the nearby humans, impregnating them with chestbursters. The chestbursters soon live up to their name and begin opening through the chests of several humans, only to quickly evolve into fully evolved Xenomorphs. Conflict soon erupts between the Yautjas, the Xenomorphs, and the humans, which results in several deaths on all 3 sides.
Oh God!
After discovering that their weapons are missing, Chopper, along with his brothers, goes after the humans. Chopper was preparing to kill Lex, but Grid, the Xenomorph, ambushes him from behind. When Celtic saw his younger brother being attacked by the Xenomorph drone Grid, he charged at it. In a bloody and gruesomely long battle, Celtic managed to subdue the alien for a moment with his net gun. But Grid manages to free itself when Celtic was just about to finish off Grid with his dagger. Meanwhile, Wayland sacrifices himself to give Lex and the archaeologist Sebastian time to escape Scar. He went after Sebastian and Lex, but met a facehugger and the Xenomorph drone instead. He slew both of them and removed his helmet to mark himself with the Xenomorph blood. But before he could put it back in place, another facehugger impregnated him. When Scar revived from the facehugger's assault, he caught up to Lex. She returned him his weapon, and they started working together. Soon, only Lex and Scar were left to fight the Antarctic Queen. Scar made Lex a weapon out of a dead Xenomorph. Scar and Lex managed to hook the Antarctic Queen to chains and pushed it over the cliff and into the water. However, Scar succumbed to the injuries that he had suffered during the battle. After his death, a Yautja mothership appears and took away Scar's corpse with honor and respect. However, once inside the ship, a Predalien chestburster comes out, and it would later go on to wreak havoc with many other Xenomorphs on the town of Gunnison. While this one is good in parts, it feels lesser as a whole. The film could have done a lot better in terms of story and use of the predators. It's a rather murky and vague dive into the depths of the freezing Antarctic waters. The cast gets killed a little too soon, but we can't complain too much, because it did provide us with a Predalien. Aliens vs. Predator Requiem, 2007. Following the events of the 2004 film, a chestburster erupts from Scar's corpse and becomes the first Predalien that we've seen on screen. The Predalien went straight to the scout ship that was attached to the mothership. The chestburster molts at an accelerated rate and soon matures to an adult Predalien. It soon begins massacring the crew, and one of the predators, named Bull, manages to send a distress signal and alerts his kind about the Earth Predalien. Another predator named Wolf receives the signal from Bull's scout ship and comes to Earth to finish off the abomination. The scout ship crashes on the town of Gunnison and began hunting the homeless people living close to the sewers. Wolf reached Earth and was in hot pursuit of the Predalien. Due to the crash, Earth Predalien escaped with several Xenomorph facehuggers. The facehuggers then implanted embryos in several humans, the first being a father and son duo. After that, the facehuggers attacked the people living in the sewers, but soon Wolf arrived at that spot and took upon himself the job of killing the Xenomorphs and the abomination that was known as the Predalien. His other objective was to remove any trace of the Predator technology and the existence of the Xenomorphs. He used a bluish acidic substance to dissolve any evidence and then exploded the scout ship. Wolf set up laser net traps for facehuggers and entraps them. However, the Earth Predalien attacks Wolf with its tail. This causes Wolf to misfire, which in turn causes an explosion that collapses the sewer and breaks a hole on the surface streets. The chaos gives the Xenomorph time to escape in the streets, but Wolf uses his Power Punch glove to strike through the rubble and pursues them. He chases one of the Xenomorphs to a power plant, where his plasma caster misfires because of the electromagnetic interference. This creates a blackout in the entire city, which results in the authorities taking cognizance of the situation. Wolf manages to slay 5 Xenomorphs, but the battle damages his plasma caster. So, he merged with one of the other plasma casters and turned it into a makeshift plasma pistol. Finally, Wolf reaches the town hospital, where he discovered that the Xenomorphs were trying to make a hive. Later, the Earth Predalien and Wolf got into a battle on the rooftop. He then reaches the roof and fights the Scar Predalien in hand-to-hand combat, with his bare hands since he lost his weapons or managed to have them destroyed. Wolf then removes all his gear and biohelmet, and once again went after the Scar Predalien, tearing its inner jaw and impaling its head with his wrist blades. But the Predalien snuck its tail into him, which led to a standoff between the two great beasts. However, the US government sent a Lockheed Martin F-22 Raptor loaded with a nuke, which was the end of the Wolf and Scar Predalien. Wolf's plasma caster was later seized by Colonel Stevens, who presented it to Miss Yutani, leaving the ground for a possible Predator intervention. Requiem is by far the weakest film of the franchise, but that doesn't mean it's essentially a bad film. All we're saying is that it could have been better, and will forever remain as a lost opportunity. The main antagonist of the film, the Earth Predalien, could have worked without the hordes of Xenomorphs, because, come on, it was a mix of the two fiercest hunters in all of the galaxy. Future of the franchise. The new Predator installment is going to be called Skull. Yes, just that. And it couldn't be more apt. It's going to be set in the distant past, and would have a female protagonist. It has been confirmed that Shane Black has stepped down as the director. Although the 2007 film, as well as Requiem, had endings with possibilities for a continuation, the new film will not be a reboot or even a continuation of the previous films. Who knows? We may even get to see the story of Raphael Adolini. However, there's no new information on the casting or even a release date, but it is expected to hit theaters sometime in 2022. Let us know in the comments if you're excited about Skull, also known as Predator 5. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to send a like and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Have a good one, and be safe.